up, Razzmanites? You got the Razzman here for Geeky.com and YouTube. And yes, the beast, the freak, the enigma, the anomaly, Brock Lesnar has returned to WWE. And I also have two big announcements that I want to talk to you all about today on the Razzman's Reality. Yeah, I know I'm late on this, but for those of you that missed the Facebook and the Twitter announcement, missed the annotation in the last video, YouTube was really slow uploading my video because it was a 1080p video, over 20 minutes, so it took almost until Raw was on Monday night for it to get up, even though it was fully edited by like noon that day. So there was no way that I was going to turn around on Monday and talk about Brock Lesnar, because then my WrestleMania review would have gotten 0 views, which is, by the way, something we're going to expand on. That's one of the announcements coming up here in a minute. But Brock Lesnar is back. I'm shocked. He is one of the few guys who left WWE that I thought there's no way this guy's ever going to come back, because he had so much success in MMA. He transcended the sport of mixed martial arts. I mean, here's a guy who was hated when he left WWE. I mean, he was hated. But he and Goldberg left at the same time, at the same WrestleMania, in a match with each other. They had to throw Stone Cold Steve Austin in a guest referee mode, in a guest referee spot, in order to try and save that matchup between Lesnar and Goldberg, because they knew both guys were on their way out, and it didn't even work. They were booed out of the building. Chants of, "You sold out, you sold out, you sold out," rang all the way through the arena. And yet now, here we are, 10 years to the date after Lesnar's debut. He debuted 10 years ago, the night after WrestleMania 18. Brock Lesnar returns to WWE and got a pop that we have not seen since The Rock's return after 7 years away in 2011 on February 14th, Valentine's Day of that year. And it was almost arguably better. Brock Lesnar's pop was almost arguably better than The Rock's pop. I mean, people my age, I'm 33 years old, or 32. Honestly, I lose track myself sometimes. I was born in 1979. But people my age, and even a little bit older, were sitting there jumping up and down like little pubescent girls at a Justin Bieber concert. I mean, it was absolutely amazing, the reaction that Brock Lesnar got. And you gotta give the guy credit. I mean, the guy pulled a Rock, and this is what a lot of people are angry about The Rock for, is that The Rock went and had success at another arena. He had success in another area outside WWE. I never once have understood that criticism, and I don't understand it about Brock Lesnar either. If you're a guy who has more than one dream, and you want to go off and succeed in more than one thing to prove that you can do it, do it. And The Rock did that, and Brock Lesnar did that. Brock Lesnar's original dream was to be an NFL player. Brock Lesnar was contacted by the Minnesota Vikings of the NFL. That's why he left the WWE. It didn't work out for him. He didn't make the NFL. And for a couple of years, he was in limbo because there was nothing for him to do. And then mixed martial arts exploded. UFC contacted Brock Lesnar. They saw the talent in Brock Lesnar, and Brock Lesnar went. And like him or not, he transcended that sport. When you think of UFC, you think of one name, Brock Lesnar. Now, there are hardcore UFC fanboys out there who want to talk about Randy Couture and a few others. But when you think about it, if you ask Joe Schmo on the street, what is UFC? And they say, oh, it's that thing Brock Lesnar does. Just like when you ask Joe Schmo on the street who doesn't follow wrestling, what wrestling is, they say, oh, wrestling is that thing Hulk Hogan does. And now Brock Lesnar has come back home to the WWE at a time when WWE sorely needed him. Because The Rock, we've been spoiled by The Rock the last 2 months on this build to WrestleMania, him being around every day. Now he's at the period where he's going to be gone again for 5 or 6 months doing his film career. WWE had that thing that they needed to do. What do we do to keep this momentum, keep these adult fans tuned in that tuned away when the Attitude Era ended and switched to MMA because MMA was the it thing. It was cool. It was real fighting. So WWE, at the time when they needed him the most, was able to land the biggest name on the planet. And it is absolutely one of the most exciting times to be a wrestling fan. I'm proud to say, and not ashamed to say, that as someone that never got away from wrestling, because wrestling was always a part of my makeup. I got it from my grandfather and my uncle. I grew up on it since I was like 6 years old. So it's always been in my blood. So I never turned it off, even when the cool thing was to turn off pro wrestling. I never stopped watching. And this, for the first time in 10 years, is a period in 48 hours where it's cool to be a wrestling fan again. Between WrestleMania 28 and how fantastic a show WrestleMania 28 was, and then you throw Brock Lesnar coming out at the end of Monday Night Raw. I mean, God, that guy was over. I mean, if it wasn't for Daniel Bryan, that guy would have been the most over in the night guy on Raw on Monday. And he arguably still was. I mean, when John Cena pauses in the middle of his promo and acknowledges Brock Lesnar chants, that tells you that John Cena knew exactly what he was going to get. He knew that in about 2 to 5 minutes time, Brock Lesnar was going to come down that ramp and F5 him. And that's John Cena's knowledge of knowing that Brock Lesnar is great for WWE business, and when WWE business does well, John Cena does well. Because John Cena is the face of WWE. He is still that guy. Even though he lost at WrestleMania, it hasn't changed that he's still that guy that signifies what it means to be a WWE superstar and only a WWE superstar. So, Brock Lesnar versus John Cena, I think we're going to see it at SummerSlam, and I think at WrestleMania we're finally going to get to see Undertaker versus Brock Lesnar. That's what I think is going to happen. But yeah, it's an absolutely amazing time to be a wrestling fan. I'm on cloud 9 right now, and I can't wait to see where this goes. And I'm on cloud 9 for Daniel Bryan as well, even though he has nothing to do with Brock Lesnar. That guy's more over than he's ever been. Losing in 18 seconds, as weird as it sounds, now seeing how these last 72 hours now, because this will go up on a Tuesday, has transpired. If it continues on SmackDown out of Miami, continues on Raw the next week, Daniel Bryan may be a main eventer for the next 10 or 15 years. And we may look back on his loss to Sheamus at WrestleMania 28 as nothing but a speed bump for his career. Now, I want to make 2 big announcements. I wanted each of these to be their own video, but Brock Lesnar returning screwed me all up. And I had to, make sure that was the next video that I made. So, here it is. I don't know about all of you, but I am sick and tired of my wrestling video view count suffering. Because the problem with wrestling videos is that wrestling is both entertainment and sports. It's not clear-cut one or the other. And ever since they changed the channel layout, but even before then, wrestling view count on videos has been plummeting. So what I want to see happen is wrestling get made into a YouTube category. Now, this isn't my idea straight up. I saw this 2 years ago from a guy, I believe it was Cool Nerd TV, who I don't believe is around anymore. But it never really went anywhere. And I think now it can go somewhere. Wrestling needs to be its own YouTube category. The YWC is huge on YouTube. The amount of wrestling videos that you see after every pay-per-view, every Monday Night Raw, in some cases every Thursday Night Impact, is huge. Every Friday Night SmackDown, it's huge. So what needs to happen is that we need a clear-cut category to upload our videos into. So, what I've done is I've taken inspiration from my best friend, Rotisserie Jamie, aka Jamie Loves Taker, who graciously got a petition made for her to meet Undertaker. I will put that down below in the description box as well. But I'm using the power of Twitter's Twitition. And I want you all to sign it. We are going to make YouTube stand up, and we are going to make them make wrestling a YouTube category. The days of our view count suffering and not knowing, do I put this in entertainment or do I put this in sports, because it's both, are going to be gone. Make pro wrestling a YouTube category. Go and sign the petition. It's on my Twitter right now. Link will be down below in the description box on both Geeky and YouTube. Make this happen. Wrestling fans, I know you can. I know it's something you want to. I just was the one that took the initiative and created the petition. I don't care if I get credit for it or not. It just needs to happen. And the second big announcement that I want to make is that this coming Friday is going to be a huge night on the radio end of things. Today, around 4 p.m., we're going to record the first ever Razman's Reality Radio Show Wrestling Reaction episode. It's going to be a reaction to WrestleMania, and it's going to be a reaction to what happened on Raw with Lesnar. And we're also going to talk news. That's going to be in my normal 7 p.m. time slot this Friday on audiograded.com. Then at 8 o'clock on audiograded.com, the normal time slot for the DJ Bob Show. It's going to be the DJ Bob Show and Razman's Reality Radio Show crossover special event, a 90s celebration 2, starring All That's Josh Server. That's right, All That's Josh Server. It was an interview that we got a chance to do actually way back in February, but because of technical issues and having to rebuild the interview from the ground up a couple of times, it took a while for it to be ready. But it is ready to go, so 8 p.m. this Friday, you will hear that interview. So you absolutely do not want to make sure that you miss the 2 hours this Friday on audiograded.com. And for those of you that listen to me on iTunes, you will get the Wrestling Reaction Show at 7 p.m. and you will get the Josh Server interview at 8 p.m. An absolutely huge night on the radio end of things for the Razman's Reality and the DJ Bob Show. Make sure you show the love. You will not be disappointed. Friday, I will probably still, even though it'll be that day, and it probably won't make much of a difference, I will still do a promo video on the level of the one I did for Cal Mitchell. So, stay tuned for that. This is reality according to the Razman. And Razman's style, it's not just a catchphrase, but a way